are now. Do you think this is a good route the way you took it, or is it better to have a full-time assistant in a smaller school? Or?
Well, I think I've done both, and so I think it's a situation that's whatever's best for you, and you got to make those decisions. Obviously your family comes involved, and that's what heavily weighed into my decision was my family. So, when I took that position, I was fortunate that Coach Jones offered it to me, and things just happened to change, and I was here, and sometimes comfort and people knowing who you are, gets you in the door a little more. And so, other than that, you got to do what's best for you. I mean, I enjoy coaching, I enjoy being on the field, but what I did last year was refreshing and fun.
And you've been in both positions, a smaller program, and how much of an advantage is it for these bigger schools that they have these staffs to lean on? I mean, I imagine the schools you were at probably maybe had one analyst, maybe one quality control.
Well, it's more, it helps in recruiting because the full-time coaches can, they've got a game plan, they've got to develop the position, and then they've got to recruit their, not just their position, but their area. So if you can take some of that off from the game study and in the off season when they're out recruiting and doing things and have stuff ready for when they come back, that's where it helps out the most.
So it's more recruiting than in preparing for games week in, week out.
Not for me recruiting. It was for allowing them to. Allowing them. It allows them to do some things. They still game plan. They're still heavily involved more than the analysts. But I mean, it's you can the basics you can give to them and say, hey, here's what we're seeing, and they can review that. And if both of you are seeing the same thing, then they can move on to more strategic things. That's right. And then it lets the full-time guys recruit more, focus more. They're out on the road, so it cuts some of their hours down.
There are some support staffers, right, that do some of that stuff just in terms of the mailings, that type of thing, correct?
In the recruiting department, things like that, yes.
How exciting is it to just be able to recruit again, go out on the road, talk to kids, text kids, DM, all that stuff?
Well, it's that's the part of the game I love. I mean, I love coaching. I love coaching the O-line. I love being involved in game plans. But building relationships with the young men and being involved in that's where it's really at. And it's competitive, obviously, and so you get your competitive juices flowing that away. But it's just fun to get out and I'm fortunate to be in the state of Tennessee and having recruited here for quite some time. That gives me some advantages.
Did you talk to anybody before you took this job or came here even as a quality control guy about being from this state and working at this university? And there's not a whole lot of guys that have done. I know Philip Fulmer is one of the few, but did you talk to anybody that went that route?
No, not really. I mean, I've talked to people that have worked here at the University of Tennessee. I'd worked with Zach Azzani and Nick Sheridan before, so obviously talking to them throughout the years about, their years here about what was going on here and working for Coach Jones and just the traditions and different things that go on here. But no, it was just, to me it was an opportunity of a lifetime and one you couldn't turn down.
Look at this offensive line. I know in every training camp you're trying to assemble one. Guys missing time. Everybody talks about continuity in an offensive line. So does that set you guys back somewhat?
Well, obviously it sets you back a little bit, but I don't think it sets you back to where it's irreparable. Those guys are just temporarily out. They'll be back. And they'll be back practicing soon. So we'll get the cohesion going. We'll get the game plan in. It's tough. They miss some of the technique work and some of the bonding together work. But other than that, we'll get them back together. They're in all the meetings. They're in all the, the things that they need to be involved in that they cannot do physically right now.
How different is Drew Richmond now from what he was, I guess, probably about 11, 12 months ago?
Well, I think the first thing you notice about Drew is he had a tremendous summer in the weight room with Rock, and he was one of our guys that were in the upper half of the strength games in the offensive line room, which was really big for Drew, which will help him play with more confidence as he moves forward. And just like anything, the more you do it, the more you're around it, the more you repeat the same habits, the better and more comfortable you come with them. And so Drew's doing well right now.
Back to what John was asking you, Walt. And I know you're not in a hurry to settle on 5, but how much has it disrupted your evaluation of who your best 5 may be?
It has. I'd be lying if I didn't say it has, but I think it gives us time with how we've handled camp and how we're doing camp, because we had, a couple of days where we worked on some different things, and so it gives them a chance to come back now this next week and get together. And I think we'll get some of them back and have a chance to work more tight in a group. Of course, if you don't have everybody out there, you can't get a true evaluation of everybody. But you'll continue to do that as we move forward into camp.
Do you look at with where you are in tackle because of chances, injury, and just where you are with the tackle position numbers wise? Does Trey have to get some emergency reps to be ready at tackle, or do you have somebody else in mind that would be kind of your emergency tackle if you got there?
Well, I think we've got a couple guys that can go out there that have played it before and done some good things. Trey would be a guy that we'll definitely look at playing some if we need to. The one thing with Trey is I want to make sure that he's settled into one position and fighting for that position, and give him a fair chance because he is a freshman. I mean, we all forget he walks in the door, he doesn't look like one, but experience-wise, he is a freshman. So I want to make sure that whoever it is that we have that's going to be our, third, fourth, fifth tackle, they get those reps, and some of those guys are doing that right now.
So you didn't go into this camp with a plan that, hey, I'm going to rep Trey a few days just in case, or did you have that in mind?
I had that was that's in mind with not just Trey, with some other guys. Okay, so I want to make sure that we cross train some people a couple days in every camp, just so when the first time they do it, it's not the week before they go out there and do it in front of everybody. So we definitely had that plan, and we'll continue to go on that plan. When he gets back and gets rolling.
How much do you need to see your line when you go back to the practice field build on what you got done last night at practice? Because Butch and Larry both said it was a good night, from a competitive standpoint, physicality and all those. How good was it, and how much do you need to build off that one last night?
Well, there's a lot of things that we had to clean up from the practice, technique-wise. We didn't have many missed assignments, which was great, but the physicality was there, and that's what we're trying to build on. And they were competing as one, and they were loving each other. And what I mean by that is, they were playing for each other for the first time this camp, in my opinion, and they were playing with some continuity. And some of that is, they've been playing together now for 2 or 3 days. The lineups have been a little different, so they've been playing together, and they came out and competed. And the D-line did a great job too. So it was a competitive practice, but it was a step in the right direction. But that was one step, and we've got a lot of ways to go to finish it up.
Thomas, what do you kind of expect of him at this point? I mean, where do you think he's best suited for? He's a guy that's been moved around from year to year.
I think Coleman's best fitted inside. He's one of those guys that can play tackle, has done it before. He's been a center and done a great job there. His snap accuracy is really well. He understands the position. The things we want to continue to see from Coleman is him growing and competing with whoever else is at that position, which Jay Sean has been some there, and Jack Jones has played there some too. So, Coleman, he played one game last year at guard and played well. So I think he's intelligent enough to play any position.
If you had to draw up a perfect offensive tackle in today's day and age of football, the defensive ends and everything, how would you design him? Height, length, weight coming out of high school?
I think anywhere from 6'4" to 6'6" is probably all you really need. You need good arm length, which is something that you're always looking for the reach on the pass protection. The ability to bend and ability to run. It's a different game on the outside than it is on the inside, and it's two different types. Outside is, I don't want to say finesse, but it's more pass blocking mode, one-on-one battles with the defensive end. Where inside, you've got the big hog mollies in there, and you're trying to knock them around. It's a little more strength and physicality inside than it is outside. That's not, like I said, that's not to mean that there's a finesse game out there. It's just, it is what it is. There's bigger bodies inside. So, I would say that. I would say, you obviously you want them to be anywhere from 290 to 310, 315 pounds out there, because they still got to set the edge on a bull rush and different things like that. So, that's what you're looking for. And obviously in today's world, I mean, you cannot play the offensive line and not understand the game, because so many different blitz disguises and things like that. You have to key in the center and help him out on protection changes, which also helps out the quarterback.
What about the center? What's your perfect size and skill level of him?
I mean, they come in all shapes and sizes. If you're drawing one up, from the cutting board, I'd say anywhere from 6'3" to 6'4.5", 290 to 315 pounds, smart, flexible, strong. He's got to be strong inside, but the ability to move in space. But really, a guy that's tough, hard-nosed, and can command the presence in the room to direct everybody, because he's the final say in a lot of things that we do.
Well, do you think it's hard to become a much more physical offensive line from one year to the next, or is that more of a mindset?
I think it's a mindset. I mean, I think obviously as young men develop in the weight room, they gain confidence in their abilities to be physical, and so that's part of it. If you bring a 250-pound guy in here and expect him to be as physical as a 310-pound guy, he may come off the ball as hard, but he may not move him as good as you want him to. So strength helps gain a lot of confidence in being able to move people, and I think that's where we're seeing some gains from our strength department.
Do you feel it's easier to run block in a 3-point stance or a 2-point stance? What's your philosophy on that?
Well, I think I think you've got a better starting point in a 3-point stance. But in today's world, it's easier to pass block too in a 2-point stance. So it's not like it's just a run-heavy offense. So you've got to have a good mix of it. So we have our times when we go put our tackles in a 3-point stance, and we have our times when they're in their 2-point stance.
Do you feel good about your blocking among the tight ends?
Oh yes. I think Ethan does a nice job. Does a real nice job on the edge. I've been fortunate to be around some really good tight ends that are still playing in the league, and Ethan has the same traits that a lot of them do. And he's done a nice job. He's done a real good job in camp. I think Bumpus has come in and proven his worth in there, and he's going to continue to do that as he learns, and he gets more comfortable with things, and he can just come off and not have to think about it. And Eli's done a good job in there, and then Jakob does a really good job.
What went into the thinking moving Jay Sean primarily from left guard to center?
Well, it was kind of in the spring. Coleman had the emergency appendectomy, and so it was kind of out of a necessity to put somebody that understood everything that we needed, call-wise, protection-wise, run game-wise, get everybody going in the right direction to help our quarterbacks compete. Because, if you're not functioning well up front, it's hard for them to compete. It's hard for anybody to compete. And so, it started that way. We'd seen it in the past a little bit, and he did a nice job in the spring. So we're just, it gives us added depth. He can play guard or center, and we'll figure out where he belongs.
Riley Locklear looks like he's heading toward a red shirt, probably needs to put on some size and weight. What's his week-to-week look like during the season compared to some other guys that are getting ready to start against Alabama or somebody?
Well, and we don't know about Riley. He's starting to come on and do some really nice things. So we'll see how as we move forward. But if a guy redshirts, his day-to-day work is the same. The only difference is he's usually on scout team. So now he's learning what Alabama's offense does when we're playing Alabama instead of what their defense does. And so he'll meet with our GAs on what the scheme is that they need to do, and then he'll go perform those duties. He'll be down with one-on-one pass and one-on-one run when we do things that are just general to any type of football. He'll be with us doing that. And then when team periods come, that's what he does.